The galaxy had long grown complacent, its vast councils of alien powers convinced that humanity was a minor footnote, a primitive species unworthy of attention or concern, their worlds charted and catalogued as a curiosity at best, a nuisance at worst. And in this arrogance they dismissed the humans entirely, believing the stories of their violent past to be mythologized exaggerations, unaware that humans had learned, adapted, and evolved in ways subtle and profound, hidden behind a veneer of ordinary civilization. And as the first human exploratory fleet crossed into unclaimed sectors, the alien observation posts merely logged their movements with polite indifference, confident that no species so young, so unpredictable, could pose a threat to the interstellar order. And yet in the silent corridors of the human command, there was a quiet determination, a cohesion born of countless trials, from surviving environmental collapse to mastering technologies that bent the rules of physics, in ways the galaxy itself had long assumed impossible. And on Earth, the political councils, scientists, engineers, and military strategists worked in unison, aware that the galaxy's ignorance was their advantage, that every dismissive glance, every underestimation, was a piece in a larger design. And as the humans launched their first wave of exploration ships into sectors previously mapped by alien scouts, the alien scanners picked up nothing threatening, just small, sleek vessels moving, with precision, almost shyly, as if they could not comprehend that these humans were orchestrating maneuvers that were decades ahead of their appearance, that the propulsion systems, shield matrices, and computational networks aboard each ship were born from a synergy of creativity and necessity, harnessing energy sources a galaxy thought were theoretical, and as they probed deeper, establishing tentative communications with neighboring civilizations, the aliens took note, recording patterns, dismissing anomalies, convinced that any civilization capable of such feats would inevitably falter in its hubris or internal conflict, unaware that humanity's strength was not in arrogance but in adaptability, in relentless pursuit of understanding, in the stubborn refusal to yield. And when the first skirmish occurred at the edge of the Draconis Nebula, a minor patrol vessel encountering a human scouting ship, the aliens anticipated hesitation, incompetence, perhaps surrender, yet the humans engaged with precision and decisiveness that left sensors scrambled and commanders aghast, disabling weapon systems without loss of life, neutralizing threats in ways that appeared almost surgical. And as the news rippled through the alien networks, panic began to simmer beneath their confident facades. For the humans did not react with blind aggression. They did not seek conquest merely for conquest, yet every action displayed mastery, control, and strategic genius that no alien intelligence could ignore. And back on Earth, the Global Human Council observed the unfolding reactions with calm focus, knowing that the galaxy's assumption of human weakness was the lever upon which they would shift the balance of power. And as more alien observers arrived to analyze these unexpected developments, they recorded anomalies that contradicted all prior expectations. Humans anticipating, countering, adapting in real time, employing strategies that seemed almost prescient, weaving diplomacy with demonstration, rescue with restraint. And in each encounter, the humans revealed that their civilization's true strength lay not just in their technology or military capability, but in their ability to unite disparate cultures, motivations, and intellect toward a common goal. And the aliens began to whisper warnings to one another, doubts creeping into the most confident projections, fears that the humans might be the first species in the galaxy to rewrite the rules themselves. And deep within the Council of High Powers, where decisions were made that spanned systems and centuries, the first tremors of unease appeared, as every plan built upon centuries of assumed supremacy faltered under the silent, inexorable logic of humanity. And across the void of space, from tiny outposts to massive warships, sensors registering the unassuming but deadly competence of human forces, the galaxy was waking up to a revelation long ignored, the revelation that humans underestimated and dismissed were not merely another civilization, but a force capable of altering alliances, destabilizing empires, and rewriting the very rules by which the cosmos had been governed. And as the first reports reached Earth, humanity prepared not for revenge or domination, but for the inevitable reckoning, a reshaping a galactic order driven by the clever, relentless, and often surprising ingenuity that had been cultivated over millennia of struggle, and in that quiet, unassuming preparation. The first chapter of the human true story began, unseen, unheard, yet unstoppable, as a galaxy, blind in its hubris, prepared to witness an upheaval it would neither understand nor recover from, a rewriting of rules it had thought immutable, a reminder that to dismiss humanity was the gravest error the stars had ever made. As the galaxies slowly registered the anomalies in human behavior and capability, the Council of High Powers convened emergency sessions, their chambers filled with representatives from countless species, each confident in their own superiority and each equally baffled by the humans' unexpected precision. For every attempt to provoke or intimidate Earth's fleets had been met not with fear but with calculated restraint. Every territorial infringement countered not with rash retaliation but with methods that preserved life while asserting dominance. And across star systems, the whispers of disbelief grew louder. Alien generals who had faced millennia of wars against multiple advanced civilizations now found themselves questioning their assumptions, because humans displayed a form of tactical genius that combined adaptability, ingenuity, and empathy in ways that no alien command structure had ever witnessed. And it was not just military prowess that confounded them, it was diplomacy, science, and exploration acting in unison, as humans negotiated safe passages, protected weaker species, and neutralized threats without escalating conflicts unnecessarily, demonstrating a strategic patience and foresight that seemed almost unnatural, as if they had anticipated every possible reaction the galaxy might offer. And in the political arenas, where treaties were drawn and broken with bureaucratic precision, humans operated like a single, coherent organism, responding to threats, forming alliances, and exploiting opportunities with speed and accuracy that left alien negotiators scrambling, rewriting protocols in real time just to comprehend the humans' moves. And while the alien powers debated, Earth's fleets expanded, quietly establishing advanced research stations at the edge of contested territories, developing technologies the galaxy had once labeled impossible. From adaptive cloaking systems to gravitational manipulation engines, all designed not to dominate blindly but to provide options, contingencies, and leverage. And in each new encounter, humans revealed a mastery of psychological strategy as much as technological, exploiting assumptions, predicting behavior, and guiding adversaries into positions of disadvantage without apparent effort. And as news of these victories spread, the undercurrents of fear began to erode centuries of alien hubris, with some civilizations even reconsidering their historical records, realizing that the legends and myths they had dismissed about Earth's ancient past might have contained kernels of truth. The humans had long been underestimated not by chance, but because their history had been deliberately obscured by their own careful restraint. And as alien scientists attempted to reverse-engineer captured human equipment or study tactics used in minor skirmishes, they encountered systems that were adaptive, intelligent, and self-improving, forcing them to admit that humans did not merely build machines. They built partners, extensions of their own ingenuity, and that every action in the field was supported by a civilization capable of innovation on a scale that dwarfed even the largest empires. And while some aliens panicked, calling for immediate strikes to prevent further human expansion, others hesitated, sensing that any aggression would provoke a response unlike any the galaxy had ever faced. For humans, when forced to act decisively, demonstrated a combination of speed, precision, and creativity that rendered traditional tactics useless. And as the council debated, a new pattern emerged in the human approach: restraint, observation, and measured escalation, each move designed to expose weaknesses, protect innocence, and reshape the playing field without unnecessary loss. And across the cosmos, ambassadors, commanders, and scientists alike realized that humans were not merely a species to be catalogued or contained, but a civilization capable of rewriting galactic rules, bending the assumptions of physics, strategy, and diplomacy to their will. And as fleets prepared for what they assumed would be demonstrations of human compliance or weakness, Earth's forces quietly orchestrated maneuvers that created leverage, trapped aggressors in their own overconfidence, and executed rescues that appeared miraculous to the alien observers, leaving the galaxy awash in disbelief, confusion, and the dawning realization that for every empire, council, or federation, the human presence was no longer a curiosity, no longer a nuisance, but a force of such subtle yet overwhelming capability that to underestimate it was to invite catastrophic consequences. And deep within the human command, the leaders watched the ripples of these events with quiet satisfaction, not for conquest, but for clarity, as every reaction, misstep, and assumption by the alien powers reinforced a single truth: Humanity had awakened, not with the fury of those seeking domination, but with the patience, skill, and resolve necessary to change the rules of the galaxy, and nothing, not pride, not tradition, not centuries of hubris, could withstand the careful, relentless logic and indomitable will of a species that had been underestimated for too long. The humans, aware that the galaxy's ignorance was their greatest weapon, began executing operations that combined subtlety with overwhelming effectiveness, sending reconnaissance teams disguised as harmless scientific expeditions to the most volatile sectors, each mission gathering intelligence, establishing networks of allies among lesser-known civilizations, and leaving behind technologies that seemed mundane yet fundamentally shifted the balance of power. And as the alien councils attempted to interpret these moves, they found themselves trapped in a web of human strategy that unfolded across multiple theaters simultaneously. For every fleet that encountered Earth's forces discovered that the humans anticipated at every tactic, countered attacks before they fully materialized, and neutralized threats without triggering wide-scale conflict, creating confusion and fear that spread faster than any formal warning. And in the more aggressive sectors, where alien warlords attempted to test humanity's defenses, they were met with responses that blended technological superiority with a human understanding of psychology and cultural nuance, manipulating perceptions, exploiting assumptions, and forcing opponents to make errors that no conventional intelligence could have predicted. And these successes, while tactical on the surface, served a larger purpose: to demonstrate that humanity's power was not a singular weapon or fleet, but a civilization operating as an integrated whole, capable of influencing outcomes across space and time in ways that defied the established order. And in doing so, humans revealed aspects of themselves that alien observers struggled to categorize: resilience, ingenuity, empathy, and an almost paradoxical patience that allowed them to observe, learn, and adapt faster than any alien strategist could comprehend. And as reports of these events filtered through the communications networks of the galaxy, panic slowly replaced arrogance. Alliances began to fracture as species questioned the wisdom of underestimating humanity, and within the largest empires, councils argued endlessly, unable to reconcile centuries of assumed superiority with the reality unfolding before them, while humans continued their campaigns quietly, establishing safe zones for civilizations that had long suffered under alien oppression, rescuing worlds from resource exploitation, sabotage, or imminent destruction, each act demonstrating that their approach was not fueled by conquest but by a long-term vision of balance, stability, and respect. And the paradox of human strategy became increasingly evident. Their restraint magnified their threat, their compassion amplified their influence, and every act of mercy or calculated diplomacy undermined the confidence of alien powers. For the galaxy had never encountered a civilization that combined moral principle with tactical genius so seamlessly, and as fleets adjusted, treaties were reconsidered, and ambassadors hesitated to speak. Humans quietly advanced the frontiers of knowledge, unveiling propulsion systems capable of traversing distances previously considered impossible, energy grids that rendered traditional weapons obsolete, and communications networks that could coordinate operations across light years in real time. And in each demonstration, humans carefully calibrated their actions to reveal enough to shock and warn, but never so much as to incite outright panic. Prematurely, and as alien intelligence agencies scrambled to understand this new reality, Earth's command centers monitored every reaction, every misstep, every sign of fear or overconfidence, using to refine their strategy, tighten alliances, and further their influence, until the realization struck even the most confident alien leaders. The humans were not merely surviving in a galaxy that had dismissed them. They were mastering it, rewriting the unspoken rules of engagement, redefining diplomacy, and demonstrating that civilization, when guided by intellect, cooperation, and unyielding resolve, could alter the very structure of interstellar politics. And in that quiet, relentless unfolding, humanity's presence became more than a factor in galactic calculations. It became the axis upon which the future of countless species, empires, and alliances would pivot. And as the first formal confrontations loomed, the galaxy had no choice but to acknowledge a simple, terrifying truth. To underestimate humanity was to gamble with annihilation, and the humans, always measured, always precise, were ready to ensure that such miscalculations would never occur again. The ripple effects of human ingenuity began to manifest across the galaxy as entire sectors once dominated by arrogant alien empires now hesitated, their fleets caught between orders rooted in centuries of assumed supremacy and the undeniable reality that humans were no longer to be dismissed, and as Earth's command refined its strategy, they combined intelligence, technology, and diplomacy in ways that seemed almost prescient, deploying fleets not to conquer but to stabilize, establishing safe corridors for trade, communication, and cultural exchange while simultaneously demonstrating the lethality of their adaptive weaponry. And every encounter reinforced a single truth. Humans possess a rare ability to turn the arrogance of the galaxy against itself, to exploit assumptions, and to manipulate outcomes without unnecessary aggression. And within the high councils, debates raged as alien leaders struggled to predict human behavior, every scenario ending in surprise and defeat for those who had relied on centuries of conventional wisdom. For humans had learned that true power lay not in overwhelming force, but in knowledge, timing, and the careful orchestration of perception. And as scouts reported minor skirmishes along contested borders, alien fleets were disabled with precision strikes that left infrastructure intact while rendering offensive capabilities obsolete. Their captains shaken by the efficiency and adaptability of opponents who seemed to anticipate every tactic before it was employed. And in diplomatic channels, humans maneuvered with equal finesse, mediating disputes, forging alliances with threatened species, and creating coalitions that further isolated the more aggressive civilizations, all while maintaining the appearance of deliberate restraint, reinforcing the galaxy's growing uncertainty and fear. And in the quieter corners of space, where intelligence operatives once thrived on misinformation and subterfuge, human strategies disrupted centuries of espionage networks, intercepting communications, predicting movements, and neutralizing threats before they could materialize, forcing alien agencies to acknowledge that their models and assumptions were fundamentally flawed. And as reports of human interventions reached even the most remote systems, entire species began to reassess their allegiances, recognizing that humanity's approach combined ethical consistency with tactical brilliance, their victories magnified not by violence but by careful planning, execution, and the protection of innocence. And in the central hubs of galactic commerce and governance, whispers of fear replaced confident declarations. For humans had not only shown technological superiority, but had also revealed a form of cultural cohesion and adaptability that no empire could match. A civilization capable of uniting diverse peoples and perspectives toward a common goal. And as fleets convened to counter these advances, they found themselves ensnared in battles of perception as much as physical engagements, humans exploiting overconfidence, impatience, and fear to orchestrate outcomes that reshaped regional power structures, while the council chambers erupted in discord over how to respond to a civilization that refused to play by conventional rules. And as the first public demonstrations of human strategy reached alien media and communication networks, the galaxy saw a civilization that could both protect the weak and strike with unparalleled precision, that could negotiate treaties and simultaneously neutralize entire fleets without loss of life. And the realization dawned that humans were no longer participants in the established order. They were arbiters, redefining diplomacy, combat, and influence itself. And in quiet observation rooms, strategists who had once scoffed at Earth's supposed simplicity now scrambled to decode patterns, track movements, and anticipate responses, only to discover that every attempt to predict human action was met with further ingenuity, forcing a reluctant respect and even admiration alongside fear. And as humans consolidated gains, strengthened alliances, and prepared to expand further into contested space, the galaxy began to understand a terrifying but undeniable truth. Humanity had rewritten the rules not through arrogance or domination, but through patience, intelligence, coordination, and an unwavering commitment to outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast any adversary. And in that unfolding mastery, humans had not only secured their place among the stars, they had set the standard for what it meant to be a civilization capable of reshaping the galaxy itself. As humanity's influence continued to expand, the galaxy's once unshakable empires began to fracture under the weight of their own miscalculations, for every attempt to challenge or intimidate Earth's fleets was met with responses that combined precision, foresight, and ingenuity, leaving alien strategists scrambling to adapt to tactics that seemed almost prophetic. And in the corridors of power, where centuries of tradition and protocol had governed decision-making, panic and doubt began to take root. As reports of human interventions rescues, and strategic victories accumulated at a rate that no council could process efficiently, revealing the scope of a civilization that had mastered both the art of war and the subtleties of diplomacy, and as humans orchestrated simultaneous operations across multiple sectors. They demonstrated a level of coordination that made entire fleets appear disorganized and ineffective, with each action reinforcing perception of inevitable human supremacy. Yet none of these moves relied on blind aggression, for humans understood that true mastery required restraint, patience, and the careful balance of force and influence, and across contested star systems, alien commanders found their strategies undermined by an opponent that anticipated not only their moves but their expectations, exploiting cultural assumptions, political hierarchies, and personal ambitions to achieve results without resorting to wholesale destruction. And as news of these operations spread, species long oppressed by aggressive empires began to rally behind humanity, providing intelligence, support, and allegiance in ways that further amplified human influence, creating a network of interstellar cooperation that no single alien power could match. And within the military theaters, humans showcased technological innovations that defied conventional physics, deploying adaptive shields, propulsion systems capable of near-instantaneous course corrections, and energy grids that rendered traditional weaponry obsolete, each demonstration leaving alien crews in awe and terror. And yet, the human approach remained subtle, designed not to provoke unnecessary panic but to signal capability, resolve, and the inevitability of strategic dominance. And as councils and war rooms convened in urgent sessions, debating whether to negotiate, retreat, or escalate, humans quietly manipulated the battlefield of perception, drawing opponents into decisions that revealed their weaknesses, exploited their assumptions, and left them unable to recover, while simultaneously securing alliances with those who recognize the futility of resistance and the value of cooperation. And in this way, humans redefined not only conflict but the very nature of power in the galaxy, proving that a civilization's strength was measured not merely by fleets or weapons, but by adaptability, foresight, cohesion, and moral clarity. And as humans continued to expand their influence, the galaxy faced a sobering truth. The underestimated species was now the standard by which all others would be measured. Their every move a lesson in strategy, intelligence, and the art of turning perception into advantage. And as alien civilizations confronted the reality of their miscalculations, the whispers of fear turned to open acknowledgement. For it had become clear that humanity's rise was not a fleeting anomaly, but the deliberate unfolding of a species capable of rewriting the rules of the galaxy. And in that recognition, humans had not only secured victory in contested theaters, but had reshaped the very framework of interstellar order, ensuring that the galaxy would never again underestimate the quiet, relentless brilliance of Earth's civilization. With the galaxy now fully aware of humanity's capabilities, Earth's leaders transitioned from measured demonstrations to executing large-scale operations that reshaped entire sectors, coordinating fleets, diplomats, scientists, and intelligence units with precision that made centuries of alien strategy appear haphazard. And as multiple empires scrambled to respond, humans anticipated their moves, exploiting rivalries, internal dissent, and outdated assumptions to neutralize threats before they could materialize, all while maintaining the appearance of restraint. For humanity's strength lay not in reckless conquest, but in mastery of perception, timing, and coordination. And across the contested regions, alien warlords who had once considered humans weak found their fleets incapacitated through a combination of adaptive technology, psychological insight, and tactical genius that left captains questioning centuries of training, as humans leveraged cloaking, rapid deployment, and predictive algorithms to strike at vulnerabilities without unnecessary violence. And in diplomatic spheres, human envoys mediated disputes between factions that had long been at odds, forging alliances that shifted the balance of power towards stability and cooperation. Yet each agreement was subtly engineered to reinforce human leverage, demonstrating a civilization capable of winning without apparent aggression. And as humans expanded research stations and supply hubs across key systems, they created nodes of influence that allowed near-instantaneous response to crises, effectively controlling vast regions without deploying overwhelming force. And alien councils, once confident in their ability to dictate galactic policy, now argued over whether to retreat, negotiate, or risk open confrontation, with each option carrying catastrophic consequences. For humanity had proven it could turn every decision, every action, into advantage, exploiting assumptions and miscalculations with ruthless efficiency, and as communications networks disseminated stories of human ingenuity, courage, and decisive interventions, species across the galaxy began to realign, some choosing alliance, others hesitant to act, all recognizing that the era of dismissing Earth had ended, and in the militarized zones, humans executed rescue operations that freed worlds from oppression, neutralized weapons platforms, and stabilized volatile systems, demonstrating that their power was not only destructive but protective, that humanity's strength lay in foresight, morality, and adaptability, and as alien strategists attempted to recalibrate, they discovered that human operations were self-correcting, iterative, and capable of adapting faster than any algorithm or command structure, rendering conventional tactics obsolete. And within Earth's command, leaders monitored every development with quiet precision, using intelligence gathered from allies, scouts, and covert missions to anticipate every potential escalation, reinforcing the perception that humanity was omnipresent, omniscient, and unyielding. And as these operations unfolded, the galaxy collectively realized that humanity had transitioned from underestimated upstart to the central arbiter of interstellar order, setting precedents, defining standards, and demonstrating that a civilization guided by intellect, cohesion, and moral clarity could achieve dominance not through tyranny but through strategic mastery, reshaping alliances, neutralizing threats, and ensuring that no empire, federation, or rogue power could ever again underestimate the quiet, relentless brilliance of Earth. And in that unfolding dominance, humans had not only secured their own future but had established a paradigm for how civilizations across the galaxy would operate, proving once and for all that underestimation of humanity was the gravest mistake any species could make, and that the rewriting of galactic rules was no longer a theoretical concept. It was reality executed with precision, patience, and unshakable purpose. The culmination of humanity's strategic brilliance now unfolded across every contested sector of the galaxy, as fleets once considered dominant found themselves outmaneuvered, outthought, and outclassed at every turn. And alien empires that had relied on centuries of assumed superiority now faced a stark reality that Earth was no longer a minor player but a defining force in interstellar affairs. And as humans executed synchronized operations combining diplomacy, precision strikes, and protective interventions, they revealed the full scope of their power, not in the form of indiscriminate conquest, but as a civilization that could rewrite entire systems of engagement, alter political landscapes, and enforce order through intelligence, foresight, and the judicious application of force. And in every theater, from resource-rich clusters to strategically vital hyperspace lanes, humans demonstrated their mastery, neutralizing weapons platforms, stabilizing governments, and rescuing oppressed species with efficiency that left alien commanders and councils alike scrambling to comprehend, for no strategy, no fleet, no alliance could match the integration of human innovation, adaptability, and moral coherence. And as the news spread, fear and admiration rippled across the galaxy, alliances shifted, rebellions dissolved, and even the most arrogant empires hesitated, unsure whether to negotiate, retreat, or risk annihilation, because humanity's approach was not only lethal but impeccably calibrated, capable of exploiting weaknesses without unnecessary destruction and creating leverage without provocation. And within the central hubs of galactic governance, alien delegates openly acknowledged that centuries of assumptions had been shattered, that the humans' combination of technological prowess, psychological insight, and strategic patience had rendered conventional models obsolete. And as a final operation concluded, entire sectors were stabilized under frameworks that prioritized cooperation, security, and the protection of life, subtly engineered by humans to ensure enduring influence and equitable order. And as the dust settled, the galaxy collectively understood that a new epoch had begun, one in which the underestimated species had demonstrated that civilization, guided by intellect, unity, and relentless adaptability, could not only survive but shape the destinies of countless worlds. And in quiet command centers, Earth's leaders observed outcomes with solemn satisfaction, knowing that their species had rewritten the rules of the galaxy not through tyranny, fear, or domination, but through mastery of knowledge, coordination, and moral clarity. And in that defining moment, every alien civilization learned a simple yet profound truth. To underestimate humanity was not merely a mistake, it was a catastrophic error. For humans possess a resilience, creativity, and strategic genius unlike anything the cosmos had ever encountered. And as the first coordinated celebrations of liberation, rescue, and stabilization unfolded across the stars, the galaxy acknowledged what humanity had long known about itself, that even when dismissed, underestimated, or ignored, humans were capable of rising to any challenge, reshaping the universe in ways both subtle and absolute, and in doing so, they had not only secured their place among the stars, but had established a legacy that would endure for millennia, a legacy of brilliance, adaptability, and the undeniable truth that the underestimated species was now the ultimate arbiter of the galaxy, and from that day forward, every corner of the cosmos would remember, respect, and, when necessary, fear the quiet, relentless force that was humanity, for they had rewritten the rules, and nothing would ever be the same.